Hi, I'm Heather Monahan. I'm really excited to be here with you today. I want to start off by telling you a little story that just happened to me a couple months ago. I went for the holiday to meet my sister and her kids with my son at Disney. And I don't know about you, but when you're adults, you don't necessarily see your siblings that often anymore because my sister lives in Seattle, I live in Miami. There isn't that much time for us to get together. Something really interesting happened that I want to share with you. So we're in Disney, we're having a great time. Our kids are having so much fun. And one night, my sister and I go to dinner just with her daughter. My son and his friends were off somewhere else, and we had a lot of time to talk. Growing up, I was called the social one. She was called the smart one. Do you have a sibling? Were you labeled something? Yeah, I'm sure you were, right? I don't know who told me that was the case or who told her, but it was known. And I bought into it. So my whole life, my whole career for the past 25 years in corporate America and becoming an entrepreneur, I thought I was a social one. I was good at sales. I was good in sales leadership, but that was who I was and that was my potential. Fast forward to, I'm sitting with my sister in Disney and she mentions to me she's taking her kids in for an IQ test. Can you hear my eye roll? So she says, why do you look at me like that? You're not taking your son in for one? I said, no. Who takes their kids in for an IQ test? No way. And she said, well, why wouldn't you? I said, why would you? And she said, well, I didn't need her to go there. She had skipped grades. She had perfect SAT scores. She has a doctorate. I knew why she was. And I said, I get it. I know why you're going to. And she said, well, yeah, because you remember when I was tested when we were kids, don't you? And I said, no, I don't. Shockingly, I don't recall. I'm sure she does. So she said, yeah, you and I went, mom brought us in and they were slow that day. So after they tested me, they tested you. You don't recall? And I said, no, but I'm sure you did much better than me. And she said, well, of course I did. She said, I tested off the charts. I was the highest test number on the IQ score that they've ever seen. I said, oh, golf clap. So excited for you. She said, well, that's not why I'm mentioning it. You don't remember they had time, so they gave you a free test. I said, oh, no, I don't remember. I don't really want to hear about it. She said, yeah, well, you scored off the charts too. You hit the highest level. You were still on the charts, unlike my sister. She said, but you hit the highest level, the genius level. Mic drop moment for me. And here's what I want you to know. And here's what I want you to do. I had spent an entire life, I'm 45 years old, going through life, allowing myself to be that social one, never thinking I was a smart one because I was being compared to, or I was comparing myself to someone who was so insanely smart. Little did I know I was actually smart too. I can look back countless times in my life and see different instances where I had opportunity to do things, but I would hold myself back because I thought those people are smarter than me. Those people are from Harvard. Those people in this meeting are going to look down on me. I'm not smart enough. All of this internal dialogue based upon bad information. So now that I know this, I feel like I could go to any meeting. I could go anywhere because why wouldn't I? I am smart enough. What's important for you to know is I didn't need to have this knowledge of this test from when I was a little kid. I'm still the same person. I could have gone into these meetings anyhow. And I want you to start asking yourself, what is the story that you're allowing to be told to you or that you are telling yourself? What label are you allowing to be placed on you and what label are you not allowing to take on because of your history, because of who you compared yourself to? Because it's just as potentially correct as it could be incorrect, meaning as much as I thought, yeah, I'm the social one, I can't be the smart one. Okay, that could have been possible. It was equally as possible that I could be the social one and could be a smart one, and so could you. So find out what that story is that you've been telling yourself and decide to challenge it and believe the flip. I wish I had believed the flip side of my story 25 years ago. I'm excited that today I am challenging it and I'm no longer accepting it, and I want the same for you. Okay, it's really important for you to make me so happy that you do that, so challenge that story. Now I want to talk to you a little bit about confidence, a little bit about how I started rocking my confidence and how you can too. So I grew up poor, one of four kids. My mom was a single mom. And when I grew up, I just kind of thought there were people out there in the world that were confident, and then there was me. And I just wasn't really confident. What I did learn at an early age was to work really, really hard. So I stepped into that. I became a paper boy and then a bus boy and then a waiter and a waitress and a bartender and until I got into sales and graduated college. What I didn't know is over all those years, I was creating a discipline, a skill, and a talent within me known as sales and connecting with people. And that was a real strength and ability that I was learning and owning. So I didn't have a lot of confidence, but I had developed and refined the skill in sales and connecting with people and relating to people that would inevitably pay dividends for me. I didn't know it at the time. I just thought I would always outwork everybody because I didn't want to be poor. And while that is a great strategy, and I have to tell you, it does work, there are other things that you can add to it to be successful. And really, I didn't become my most successful, powerful self until I started stepping into and rocking my own confidence. So I want to share some of the ways that I did that. So one of the ways that you can rock your confidence is fire the villains in your life. So I had made it to the highest levels in corporate America. I had become a chief revenue officer. I was doing really, really well on the outside, making a lot of money and things looked great. What I hadn't realized is I had let someone very negative into my space, into my world, who was constantly giving me disapproving looks, who was constantly trying to ignore me or put me down or hold me back any way she could. And I used to say, I'll turn a blind eye to that. I'm not going to focus on her negativity. But what I was allowing for was for her to chip away at my confidence over time. By turning a blind eye to her poor behavior, I was turning a blind eye to my intuition and my insights. And that is the wrong answer. So start tuning up and listening in when your intuition is talking to you, and don't turn a blind eye to it. That was a big mistake that I made. What I also learned is I tried to dim my light in hopes that maybe it would let her shine hers brighter, and then she would leave me alone and let me go back and on my way. Dimming your light will never increase somebody else's. In fact, it will dim others around you. So shine your light and shine it better and brighter. Because what you'll find is if shining your light is going to offend and upset the people that you're around the wrong people. It's not about you. That's about them. So I was in the wrong place and I didn't even realize it. I was so consumed with trying to get her to feel better about herself and shrink myself as to not upset her that I was really destroying my confidence worse than it had ever been. It didn't happen until the day that woman actually fired me that I realized I had just fired my villain from my life. And the minute you fire your villain, you set yourself up to take off because you create this space and opportunity for really good people to come in. I did a couple of very smart things at that point in time. One, I had fired my villain. Two, I asked for help. I posted on social media after I just got fired. I've been fired. I'm really hurting. And if there's any way that I've helped you over the past 14 years, that's how long I had been at the company, I'd love to hear from you today. And I heard from thousands of people, and people left me reviews and recommendations of my work on social media. And that's key because we live in a review and recommendation world, and you want that credibility and testimony to your work. So ask for reviews and recommendations. And I asked. And I also learned when people jump out at you and offer you, hey, I'd love to help, take them up on it and convert in the moment. People will get busy with their own things and move on. So you want to convert that opportunity at that time. Froggy from the Elvis Duran show, a huge radio show, said to me, hey, I'd love to help. I know your story. If there's anything I can do. And I said, yeah, get me on Elvis Duran. And he did. A few weeks later, I went on the Elvis Duran show. I had no idea what I was doing there. I was scared to death. But I have also learned fear is a green light that means go and go faster, not run away, run in. And the next time you feel fear, see it as a green light and get yourself moving. That will build confidence in you. I went out on the show. Things went fantastic. Halfway through the show, Elvis says to me, well, Heather, obviously you're writing a book. And I said, well, obviously, but I wasn't. And seeing how confident he was within me allowed me to transfer that confidence to me. So surrounding yourself with people that believe in you so much, that have so much confidence in you, will allow you to boost your confidence when you're feeling low. I got on the plane and I Googled, how do you write a book? I didn't know. So it said basically be disciplined and put the work in. And I know one thing, I'm a hard worker. I went home and I started writing and I created a book I felt really proud of. And right before I was going to publish it, I shared it with my inner circle, my immediate family. And my mom did not like it. My sister told me I was going to get sued. And I was freaking out and crumbling. And I did something very smart in that moment. I reached out to my editor. He had written 19 books. I had written 0. I went to someone who was further along than me, someone who had expertise. And I asked him what he thought. And he got me back to my why. Why did you write this book, Heather? And I said, because I want to help somebody that could be in my situation, that could be struggling with their confidence. He said, does this change any of it? No. And he said, do you think that you're the first person that's had someone close to them tell them not to write a book because they're afraid? That's their fear. That's their self-limiting beliefs. But that doesn't mean that you can and you shouldn't move forward with your vision, your mission, and your idea and your book. And that's when I decided I'm stepping into my power. I am going to rock this book regardless who likes it or who doesn't. And I launched that book and it trumped for #1 in business biographies the first week it came out on Amazon. And I was so proud. And it's helped so many people. And it started me down a new path of stepping into my intuition, my inner voice, and my confidence. And the more I would step into that and step into the fear and see it as a green light and just keep going, the stronger and more confident I became. And the more I pulled people towards me that supported me and cheered me on, and the more you will too. That momentum will build and it will become second nature for you. Start listening to yourself, start shining your light. And for the days when you're not feeling it, leave yourself reminders. I always write on the bottom of my shoes, I can and I will, because I can and so can you. Thank you.
and to learn, because once we say, hey, I have enough, or I'm an expert in this field, then we just get ourselves stuck over there. And if you don't mind, I'm just going to throw another question at you: is what would you say people can do to be willing and open to learn? What are those concrete steps people can actually take to be that mentee and to be that mentor?
Well, I think one is being out there, right? Making yourself available. Understanding. Not everything is kind of handed to you. So maybe there's a webinar or different activities coming up within your organization. So be there, be represented, and be heard. Raise your hand, ask questions. It's always something that kind of drove me. So even when I was looking for an undergraduate college, I wanted something smaller. I didn't want to get lost in a crowd. So raise your hand, ask questions. I think to me is one of the most important pieces.
Thank you. And I find that actually works very well at home is keep the children curious, right? Like have them ask those questions, but that's something that we need is because that's how we learn, right? With those simple inhaler my daughter brought home, I was like, Esty, do you know how that works? She's like, no, I take it and it works. I was like, no, 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 no. There's a science behind it. And that's something that we just always have to know is to be open to that learning. And I love how you shared is ask those questions. If we open ourselves, people are willing to share with us, we are open to learning, and learning actually does bring that growth that we so badly want. Bill, what are your thoughts? What's something that you would go ahead wanted to hear, or you constantly share with mentors, with mentees?
Well, it's really a couple of things. It's something that Jeffrey just said about passion. Um, One of the great dangers, I think, of being a young person is that when you grow up, look, when you're in school, there was the math kid, and there was the art kid, and there was the science kid, and there was the athlete kid, and whatever kid you were, usually get kind of defined like that. It's like, Heather talking about her being the outgoing kid, and her sister was a smart kid. The risk of being defined in the wrong way is a great danger that we have to find a point to say, am I really defining myself in the right way? And number two, knowing that the people that love you the most can really mess you up. For example, as a parent, I've got 5 kids, and even though I love my kids, I want them to create a sustainable lifestyle. And so, like a lot of parents, when I see them doing well at something, I say, oh, you ought to do that with your life. Oh, you ought to do that. And we find that we start defining people by aptitude instead of passion. And we end up creating a world of people who are operating in their aptitude and not their passions. And what we'd have is a world of people just doing a job versus doing their passions. And when you do your passions and your aptitude, so I say take that assessment, really ask that, not just because you're good at it, but because it fills your heart, it fills your spirit. But the other thing I would say is, and it's what the theme of this event is, hit connect, it show up. A guy that works for the FBI wrote a great book called The Like Switch. And he said, if you want to form relationships in life, which people say your net worth is really formed by your network, the number one way to form a relationship is proximity. Show up. So if you're out there, whether you're passionate or and even have all your aptitudes in line, if you fail to show up, you miss out on one of the greatest opportunities that could be right on the other side of the door. So get out, show up, make connections, and then watch literally what unfolds. I think the miraculous and enormous surprises are ahead of us when we take those steps of faith.
Thank you. And just to throw back another question is, what do you think holds people back? A, from fulfilling their passion, and B, from actually showing up?
Well, that's a classic. It's fear. You know, I believe every single person lives with the desire to love and be loved. And one of the biggest struggles we have is even loving ourselves. Can you look in the mirror and go, do I love this person? There's people of duty who can get past that. But the truth is, inside, if you're always concerned about deeply, even subconsciously, am I going to screw up? Am I going to look stupid? Am I going to put my foot in the mouth? Whatever it is that we're afraid of making a mistake to be persecuted and told how bad we are, then guess what? Let's not make those steps, because I can avoid being ridiculed. I can avoid screwing up. I can avoid missing that great audacious goal. And people say, well, look, you screwed up. You say you're going to do this and you didn't do that. And the difference between those people that break out and do it are the willingness to put even their reputation on the line and to put fear on the back corner and say, I'm going to be courageous. And that's a big step, especially when you so want to be approved by the world. But when you do that, that's the breakout step.
Very, very powerful. It's once we know it's fear, it's actually taking those steps and embracing that fear. There is a reason for fear in the world. It helps us, it puts that brake on sometimes when we need the brake, but we have to be aware that there is a brake on. And in order for us to move forward is to press that gas pedal and to acknowledge the fear and sometimes say, fear, I don't need you at the moment. I can just move forward. So that takes a lot of work. That definitely takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of energy, but it's acknowledging that it's there. And just to share a personal story about myself in regards to fear, it's just going back when I started working. As I mentioned earlier, I was very young in the field that I was in, and people were actually very surprised to see me. And because people were surprised to see me, I thought that they would not accept what I have to share and they wouldn't listen to what I have to say. And I had fear really clouding my judgment and blocking me until I said, you know what? They think of this anyhow. I'm just going to say what I have to say. And when I realized that they took the moment just to listen and to acknowledge and to appreciate what was being shared, I was like, why was I scared? So many times is when we do push ourselves forward, you would ask yourself why you are scared. So I would just suggest to you is when there is fear blocking you, in a few days, you're going to ask yourself, that was silly. Why was I scared about something like that? And just to be aware that most of the time, and take a look at, past experiences when you were afraid of something, what were you afraid of? And I always like to ask myself, what is the biggest thing that you're afraid of? That people would laugh, that this would fail, that this, so what?
Mm-hmm.
And for me personally, I found that this has helped me move forward. So it failed. That's okay. It would have been worse had I not tried something like that. But everybody has to take that step back and ask what works for me in order for me to overcome that failure. Kyle, what are your thoughts that you generally share with mentees that you think is extremely important for others to hear?
So there's a couple things. It depends at what stage I'm speaking to someone about. You know what I mean? Someone who's really at the beginning, they need to hear one kind of message. Someone who's, at the bridge of taking a big leap needs to hear another message. I do believe that there's one message that really relates to every single industry, every single field at every stage of your life, and that is to be humble. And if you look at every opportunity as a learning experience, and I don't just mean finding books to read and making sure you're researching your industry, perfectly. I believe that every single correspondence and every single discussion that you have with people, looking at them as this is somebody that I can learn from, whatever it is, whether it's a personal correspondence, whether it's business, whatever it is, it's always listen to them, take that step back, absorb, and then respond. Be humble, give them the respect that they deserve. And I feel like there's so much to learn from people when you're really focused on learning. That's one thing that definitely relates to many different stages and periods of your life. Another piece which you mentioned was definitely the passion. If you love what you do and you find meaning in what you're doing, then that definitely is a drive that keeps me going for sure. And there was one more point I wanted to mention. And that is that you really, really have to want it. I have a lot of people that tell me like, oh, like I really want to be this. I really want to do this. I really want to get, do you understand what it takes to get there? Like, are you really, really willing? People, sometimes they think they want something, but when it comes down to it and you have to get your hands dirty and put in those very, very, very long hours and years and years. And again, learning from so many different people and trying to build upon everything that you pick up and everything, you got to really want it. And if you really want it and you have that drive and you have that passion and that desire to be successful, I really believe those are the people that end up making it.
I think that that's so powerful that you really, really must want it, because people want a lot of things. We all want a lot of things. And I think this would actually go back to the discussion talking a little bit about that fear is, do you really want it? Are you willing to get your hands dirty? Are you willing to, fail sometimes? And do you know what failure actually means? And it's running through those steps in order for you to say, yes, I really want it, and I'm willing to embrace failure. And yes, I'm willing to go ahead and embrace that fear because I really, really want it. And I like that you had mentioned that passion again. Passion is very important. Passion is going to help you move forward when you fail, right? Passion is going to help you when things are going tough, because hey, I really like what I'm doing. I want to continue what I'm doing even if I'm so tired. So it's really discovering that passion. And what Bill and Kyla both said a little bit talking about that passion piece over here is knowing what your strengths are. A lot of times that would align with the passion and merge the two together, which is something that going to help you wake up with that smile and say, yay, it's Monday. Not like, oh gosh, Monday again, but it's to be excited to just start the day and to get the ball rolling over there.
And it's hard. I feel like people look at those that advance 15 years in the industry or 20 years and they're holding at a certain place, and they almost feel like, because they only see where we are now, as if like of course you get to go on vacation because like you don't even work so hard anymore. Do you know it takes years of just really getting so dirty and exhausted and starting from the bottom and taking out the garbage and doing everything you need to do to really learn and grow. And people don't realize that it started many, many years back. It's not what you see today. What you see today is really a lot of sweat, blood, and tears, and really that determination to want to get there and to want it really, really badly.
Yeah. And what's interesting, I find that a lot of people just see the facade. You just see the front cover. You see me going on vacation, but you don't see that sweat and tears. But you would get to see that sweat and tears. And this goes back to what we have been discussing, Jeffrey, that you had mentioned this by asking those questions. Toby, what was it? Kylo, what are those steps? Right? How did you go ahead? How did you accomplish? And when you stay curious and open to learn, you'll be able to see that sweat and tears. But then again, you really have to want to see those sweat and tears. So it's just that constant juggle that's there. Kyla, I asked earlier, and I would love to hear from you, because we're talking about those difficult moments. When you look back and what are those times that you have encountered failure, and what have you done to pick yourself up?
So I started my career in sales. There was a tremendous amount of rejection for years, for the first, till I was able to really gain people's trust. And I feel like it taught me so much. It taught me to connect to people, like I said, like on a human level, and to be humble, because I needed them. It was like, your yes is my success. And it really, really, I feel like all those failures and all those no's really brought me to the next stage in my personal growth and in my business growth. So, people that are in sales and are dealing with those no's and dealing with rejection and dealing with so much, like, there's so much frustration. If they look at it as a real growing stage, it's the best thing that's going to happen to you. But you got to stick through it. It's not easy. It's not easy.
Yeah. And sometimes we say those are our most expensive lessons, when we learned from those mistakes. Thank you. So I would just love to wrap up and just to leave the audience with something very strong and concrete. What can we share with everybody? What do we want to leave the audience with? And Jeffrey, I'll start with you. What is something that you want them to take home with, that little memento of the Hit Connect?
I think put yourself out there. I mean, I think this event is kind of a start in that direction. Michael Jordan said, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Put yourself out there, and you'd be surprised at the outcomes.
Thank you. Thank you. Bill, what's something that you would like to leave the audience with?
Just recognize that you have a profound opportunity to make a difference in the world, that there's only one of you. And quit comparing and celebrate who you are. And when you do and discover that passion, discover those aptitudes. And I will tell you, I work with people, guys in their 50s and 60s that are realizing I've climbed the ladder of success and I've hit the top and rung the bell. And I realized I spent most of my life climbing the wrong ladder, climbing the ladder so I can go, woohoo, look at me. And to be able to look in the mirror and say, what is success for you? And recognize that you already have the seeds of greatness in you. And every failure you make are just really stepping stones to your launch pad. So embrace those, learn from those, celebrate those, and know that you were born and you have breath today. It's a gift. Now use that gift to change the world.
Thank you. Thank you. And Kayla, what would you like to leave the audience with?
Think that when we're always so busy with thinking about how we could advance our career, we're not focusing on the present. And what's so important in business growth and in personal growth is to really present and realize that every obstacle, every achievement, every goal, it's about now. And remember it and take it in, either learn from it, make changes, adjust, or like Bill said, celebrate. But whatever it is, be present, because this is your one life that you get to live. And every day is important, and every day brings you closer to the next stage and the next opportunity. And really just being present really will change your life.
Thank you. Thank you. So we have to really go ahead, put yourself out there, celebrate the moment, celebrate who you are, define success for yourself. You have the opportunity to make a difference. Acknowledge that you have the opportunity and really remain focused. And sometimes what's going to help you remain focused is turn yourself inward and ask those questions. Be open to learning. Thank you so much, Kayla. Thank you so much, Bill. Thank you so much, Jeffrey. I have learned a lot. If any of you do have questions, you can just put it into the chat box, or you can just unmute yourself and just ask those questions or raise your hand. I think we are good. Thank you so much, everyone.
I want to thank Kayla. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. You took time out of your busy day. Everybody clap for Kayla. Bill, thank you so much. It's a pleasure, and it's been a real pleasure also getting to know you these past few days. Thank you so much, Bill. Jeffrey, thank you so much. I'm so happy you got to be here, and I'm really, really happy I got to sit on stage with you today. Thank you so much. Everyone, give it up for our panelists. Again, right now, if anybody has a question, now is your chance, because once they hang up, they're going to be out. So we got still Jeffrey, we got Bill. Anybody have a question? Okay, amazing. We are going to now head out to the expo hall. You can easily click your go-to menu, and you could click the Hit Connect Expo Hall, where we are going to go check out all the vendors who have come to this event. Thank you guys so much for being in the auditorium, and I'll see you at the expo hall.
Hi guys, welcome to the expo. For any tech issues or any help that you would need, just don't hesitate to tell us. We'll be right here. See you around.
Hello, hello.
Welcome to Hit Connect.
Hello, hello.
I'm the MC, Malia Feivelson. I created this event for you. I started LinkedIn a little over 200 days ago. Before then, I didn't even know how to use LinkedIn. No one knew who I was. But through these past months, I've dedicated so much of my time to building connections with each and every one of you.
and I wanted to create an event where I could meet all of you. So I got in touch with Itzi Holzer, Moshe Kaufman in the Purple World, and I created this amazing event called Hit Connect. I can't believe we're finally here. I want you guys to enjoy all the
How's it feel?
Feels good. It feels good. I have a lot of energy. I keep walking, not getting tired. Great.
I heard.
Oh, you can run on this?
I found out that if you press shift and then
That is great. That is awesome.
That's pretty funny. But
Yeah, I noticed that. I go, hi, Ann.
Hey,
Here we
how are you?
in the Purple World. We're still learning our way around here.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay.
No, it's fine. It's helpful, you know, when you're being asked questions.
So, how are you connected to this event?
Yeah. So I really like the experience, I must say. I think it's a very good experience. The Total War. Okay.